Imagine you're looking out the window of a commercial flight. The sky is clear, the sun is shining, and the Atlantic Ocean below looks undisturbed. Without warning, the navigational compass starts spinning. The radio communication drops entirely into static, and within moments, a multi-ton aircraft drops out of the sky and vanishes. No distress signal, no wreckage. This exact scenario has been attributed to a very specific stretch of water. If you draw a line from Miami to Bermuda, down to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and back to Florida, you enclose roughly 500,000 square miles of ocean. For decades, this patch of the Atlantic has been branded as an active hazard zone, evolving from a standard commercial shipping route into a globally recognized symbol of existential dread. The modern legend has a precise starting point: December 5, 1945. 5 U.S. Navy bombers, collectively known as Flight 19, departed Florida on a routine training mission over the Atlantic. The conditions that day were ideal. The men leading the flight were highly experienced combat veterans. Yet, according to Navy radio transcripts, the flight leader quickly became severely disoriented, reporting that their instruments were malfunctioning and the ocean itself looked wrong. Then, total silence. The Navy immediately dispatched a massive flying boat with a 13-man crew to conduct a search and rescue operation. Within 20 minutes, that plane vanished too. 6 military aircraft, 27 men, completely gone. Extensive searches of the ocean surface yielded no oil slicks, no debris, and no bodies. This complete absence of physical evidence created an agonizing information vacuum, and human nature abhors a vacuum. Once the story of Flight 19 hit the public consciousness, people began looking backward and forward in time. Decades of maritime history were suddenly reevaluated. Unexplained losses of cargo ships and missing civilian pilots were grouped under a single umbrella. Desperate for a logical explanation, early investigators looked to physics. Some proposed that the region sat atop massive, localized magnetic anomalies capable of overpowering a ship's compass, steering crews hundreds of miles off course until they ran out of fuel. A violent scientific theory suggests deep beneath the Atlantic, massive pockets of compressed methane gas fracture and erupt, sending enormous bubble plumes to the surface. This drastically reduces the ocean's density. Any vessel caught directly above loses all buoyancy, dropping to the bottom instantly. Geological mechanics offered a completely plausible, natural explanation for ships vanishing without a trace. But for a public captivated by mystery, natural mechanics were boring. The narrative rapidly escaped the boundaries of physical science. If the ocean wasn't sinking these ships naturally, something unnatural had to be at work. Speculation shifted toward ancient, functioning technology, specifically energy crystals from the lost city of Atlantis buried beneath the sand. The theories didn't stay underwater for long. Soon the lure expanded into the sky, pulling in claims of glowing, saucer-like crafts emerging from the Atlantic, and suggesting that missing crews hadn't drowned at all, they had been abducted. Pulp magazines, tabloid newspapers, and paperback authors realized there was an insatiable, highly profitable market for these unverified claims. They packaged and sold the mystery to a global audience. By the late 1970s, the actual historical tragedies, the real people who had died at sea, were largely forgotten, completely overshadowed by a self-sustaining pop culture monster. When modern researchers finally subjected the legend to rigorous scrutiny, the timeline collapsed. Audits of historical records proved that many of the most famous Bermuda Triangle disappearances actually occurred hundreds of miles outside the zone. The rest sank in well-documented catastrophic hurricanes. You also have to factor in the location. The Western Atlantic is one of the most heavily trafficked maritime and aviation corridors on the entire planet. Look at the actual transit data for this region. We see millions of massive cargo ships, cruise liners, and commercial flights crossing safely every single year. Compared to that volume, the mathematically tiny fraction of wrecks perfectly aligns with standard global accident rates. Today, global marine institutions, advanced satellite tracking, and comprehensive insurance data all point to the exact same conclusion. There are no anomalous hazards here. The data is definitive. Mathematically and physically, the Bermuda Triangle does not exist, which leaves us with the most interesting question of all. If the statistics prove this stretch of water is horrifically normal, Why does the legend still terrify us? It comes down to human psychology. We have a deep, desperate need for order. When faced with the terrifying random chaos of the natural world, where a perfectly good plane can crash simply because a part failed or the weather turned, we would much prefer to invent a monster. A monster can be mapped. A monster can be avoided. When Flight 19 disappeared, it left a gap in our understanding. We built the Bermuda Triangle as a narrative bridge over our own ignorance, simply because we needed a reason for 27 men to vanish. The real mystery is not hidden in the mud at the bottom of the Atlantic. It is found in our own minds, our absolute inability to accept the unexplained.